Hey guys, Brian Shulman Brown here, physical therapist, CrossFit coach, and wellness coach with Get Your Fix Physical Therapy. So moving on a little bit from the plantar fascia issues, but still working on that lower leg and foot. Addressing tonight the posterior tibialis tendon dysfunction. A couple of running groups I'm in, or one specific one especially, there's been several people asking about it, talking about having issues with it. So I wanted to address it and give you guys some feedback or some tips on what to do for it. I was planning on pulling out the anatomy app again, but my computer was fighting with me tonight, so we don't get that. But if you remember, kind of explain it to you. If you remember from the first two that I did with the anatomy app, that posterior tibialis sits deep to the calf muscles, sits right behind this, your long bone here, and then comes down and underneath the bottom of the foot. So, its ultimate job, essentially, our muscles have normal actions, but they also have typical functions that can be a little bit different. So, the actual job of this is to help support that arch when you step. So when you have good control, it prevents it from collapsing that way. So what happens is when you don't have good control of that foot, every step you take, your foot can collapse in. When you do that for a short while, not a big deal. When you're just walking, it's not a ton of force, not a big deal necessarily. When you start running, increases the force, increases the number of steps you're doing because of the distance you're running, especially as you increase your mileage. It just puts a lot of strain on that tendon. Every step you take, it's getting stretched. So, one of the reasons you need to go back to the videos I did on strengthening the foot is learning how to control that arch, gaining that strength in the arch and strengthen your toes in order to control that collapse, so you're not putting as much stress on that. Now, with any tendinitis, the longer it lasts, so an itis is an inflammation. If it continues on and you're not addressing it, it becomes a tendinosis. Tendinosis is essentially a breaking down of the tissues. So if you let these irritations and inflammations continue, you're essentially going to eventually start having a breakdown of that tendon. Long-term effect could end up getting a full tear in there, partial tear, that sort of thing. With tendons, it's a non-contractile tissue for the most part. Muscles are a majority of contractile tissue, a little bit of non-contractile. With a tendon, it connects to that muscle, but it becomes a non-contractile tissue. So it doesn't heal very well on its own. So when you get this inflammation or this breakdown, it does not want to heal well. Now, what to do about it when you have it? With itis, with any sort of tendinitis or tendinosis, eccentric exercises are going to be your best bet. So, explaining that. Concentric is that normal lifting phase. So if you're standing on your feet and you raise your heels up, that's going to be a concentric motion. For the biceps, curling up, that's a concentric motion. Eccentric is that lowering phase, so it's that control phase of bringing it down. If you're up on your toes, it's that control phase of lowering. So it's that slow lowering that is going to start addressing or start strengthening the tendons and those muscles better when they're in these inflamed state. It actually, it's a less force to the tissues, but it also is more effective in addressing and gaining strength in that area. So, for this area, one that I really like to do with people, you do need a band, putting a loop on the end of it. And what you're going to do, you're going to kind of brace it with your other foot, and you're going to think of a J motion with your foot. So from there, you're going to point and turn out, and then you're slowly going to control that motion up. So once again, you're going to point and control that motion up. It's a really good one for just gaining good control of that entire area. And then the other one I want you to work on is that arch lift. So same thing, you're going to control that up, and then you're going to slowly let it lower down and lengthen. Going to control it up and slowly let it lower down. So you're taking a good amount of time to lower it down. Because of where the muscle sits, it is a little bit harder to really work on these eccentric motions, but it can be done, and it should be done in an effective way in order to get your good foot control. So bringing that arch up, holding that, and then slowly letting it lower back down. So hope that makes sense to you guys. If it doesn't, if you have any questions as you're trying to do it, definitely comment on here with any of your questions. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. And as usual, if you have any specific issues you're dealing with that you don't want to address with the rest of the world, feel free to message me directly. I'd be happy to discuss any of those issues with you. So hope you had a wonderful day, and I'll check in with you guys again tomorrow. Bye.